Hello, my friends. Your buddy Phil here, project management trainer and coach. We just got done with our very first day of our 9-hour energy course on hpmexam.com. I want to thank all of those who came. Thank you for coming. Next time, bring a buddy because I'm sure they'll find as much value as you did. But I want to address some questions that came up, and we're kind of out of time, so I want to address those questions now. All right. So the first question from our friend Nicole. Nicole, thank you very much for some of these questions. Will there be questions on characteristics of agile life cycles? Oh, I surely can guess that you will have those. What do agile life cycles look like? For sure. And then iteration-based agile versus flow-based agile. Oh, for sure. That comes just naturally to the discussion because they're very different. The way you proceed with iteration-based agile, with a fair amount of distinguishing what is going to be done and what is not, versus flow-based agile, and how things just flow. And you have some parameters, right? In effect, you're thinking about work in progress limits and things like that, but you still are doing work just in a different way. And when we're addressing the daily stand-ups, the way you start from the far right of the board versus asking 3 questions, it goes without saying. So there's some subtlety in the world of iteration-based versus flow-based that you should know. Characteristics of hybrid life cycles. When you think about hybrid life cycles, as PMI have told you in the Agile Practice Guide, you got like 4 overarching ones, right? You got Agile Predictive, or you've got the Agile Predictive sub, or you've got everything predictive and a tiny little injection of Agile, or everything Agile, a tiny little element of predictive. You got to know these for your exam. T-shaped people, I-shaped people, yeah, you got to know these for sure, right? T-shaped, I-shaped, broken comb, you got to know it. Qualitative and quantitative risk analysis, keywords for qualitative, risk score. Quantitative, keyword, expected monetary value. Expected monetary value is used in quantitative, risk score is used in qualitative. Burn down and burn up charts, for sure. Burn down shows you how many miles left you have to go. Burn up shows you how many miles you've covered, right? So flip that into reality. Burn down shows you how many more story points you have to go. Burn up shows you how many story points you've worked. All right. Velocity questions, you can expect those. Yeah, velocity is a good thing. It's an empirical piece of data, and you got to use it to plan. Makes sense. Feature charts, very peculiar to the Agile Practice Guide in that you don't hear talking about this in the Scrum Guide or the PMBOK Guide. But yes, feature charts, some people like those, and there's nothing bad in them. It's just that it's not emphasized in a lot of the other Agile flavors outside of what you have in the practice guide. But it helps you see how you're accomplishing work in terms of those features, and that's okay. Will horizontal always be x-axis? Well, it really depends on what you're talking about, but whatever the chart you're looking at, try to understand the definition of the x-axis, whatever is there, and the y-axis, whatever is there. Like if you're looking at an earned value chart, the y-axis is always going to be cost. The x-axis is always going to be time. That's pretty much how it works. And speaking of SPI and CPI graphs, they're really more of earned value graphs for EV, PV, and AC. I do expect those on the exam, and I have some videos about it. And I would say master what it means. If EV is above PV and AC, you're always good. If EV is under PV and AC, then you're in trouble. If EV is above the planned value, you are ahead of schedule. If EV is under the planned value, you're behind schedule. If EV is on top of the actual cost line, it means you're under budget. That's the reverse one where you need to think differently. If EV is under the actual cost line, you're over budget. So it's kind of reverse where cost is concerned. Change management, you got to get good in it. We're going to take a look at the change management breakdown of what happens first and how changes flow. Lean on Kanban, oh, for sure. Read your Agile Practice Guide well and understand the 5 hallmarks of Kanban, the principles talked about there in the Agile Practice Guide. Okay. Guide mapping. So I guess you're talking about page 25. Definitely a good one to focus on. Know your page 25. I believe that's what you mean. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Well, we need to know all of the Agile Manifesto mapping pages. Oh, no, you don't need to know how it's mapped, but you need to understand the context of the Agile Manifesto. That's what that's saying. Push versus pull, have a mental block. Well, think about it. You can push work to people. You could say, all right, you're going to do this. You do this, you do that, you do that. Or pull. You could pull, right? You could pull work to yourself. And when you pull work to yourself, it's more of an ownership thing. You're saying, I understand the ramifications. I understand what this is about, and I can do it. That's pulling work to yourself. Would you like someone to push work to you till you have an overflow of things to do? Or would you prefer to pull things to yourself in a just-in-time fashion? That's really what that answers. Now, when we talk about push and pull, I'm hoping you're talking about that in the concept of Agile. But if you're talking about that in the concept of communications, that's a totally different thing. Will we be given a scenario or drag and drop about 4 ceremonies of Scrum? Actually, there are 5. So you got the 3-5-3. You got to remember the ceremonies of Scrum. You talk about sprint planning, talk about the sprint itself, talk about the daily Scrum, talk about sprint review, talk about retrospectives, 5. And you talk about one that's unofficial, but is mentioned as a practice in the Agile Practice Guide, and that's backlog refinement. All right. So I hope that helps. Great questions. If you still have further queries about them, be sure to ask in our next hpmexam.com class. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much for the questions. Everyone else, if you're wondering, what is hpmexam.com? Well, you need to go on down because I say it's a hybrid project management exam, hence HPM exam. All right, so just go on down there, hpmexam.com. Check out when our sessions are happening. We got sessions going on, got one going on right now. We're going to have some more in the future. All right, so just go ahead, book a session. I look forward to seeing you in the classroom. We're going to go over people, process, business, going pretty deep. You take care and see you soon.